The phone rang 31 times in 90 minutes. I know because my son counted. He thought it was a game. He was sitting cross-legged on a hotel bed in Charleston, South Carolina, eating goldfish crackers from a Ziploc bag, calling out the number every time the screen lit up. 11, Mommy, 12. I was standing on the balcony watching the harbor, my coffee going cold in my hand, listening to the boats. My Aunt Gloria was calling from a wedding venue parking lot 300 miles north. My cousin Stephanie was inside, screaming at a coordinator who could not give her a reception hall she had not finished paying for. But I did not know any of that yet. All I knew was the harbor, the way the light hit the water at that particular angle that only happens in the late afternoon. The sound of my daughter laughing at something on her tablet in the room behind me, and the fact that for the first time in 5 years, I had chosen myself and my children over a family that had been choosing everything else over us for a very long time. The 31 calls were just the ending. Let me tell you how we got here. My name is Rachel, 35 years old, single mother of 2, Owen, who is 6 and counts everything, and Maya, who is 9 and reads people the way I read spreadsheets. I work as a financial analyst at a mid-sized insurance firm downtown. $52,000 a year. Nothing dramatic. Enough if you are careful. And I have always been careful. I have a budget spreadsheet with 11 columns. I track every category: groceries, gas, school supplies. The $200 a month I put into a travel account and treat like it does not exist until it does. In my family, being careful with money was not considered a skill. It was considered a threat. People do not resent you for being broke. They resent you for being disciplined, for having a savings account when they have overdraft fees, for saying no when they have learned to expect yes. My father understood that about me. He was the only one who ever did. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack on a Wednesday morning. The kind that does not give you warning or time, or the chance to say the things you meant to say eventually. He was 59 years old and had spent 30 years as a high school math teacher who moonlighted as a tax preparer every January and February because the salary was not quite enough and his family was. Before he died, and 6 months before, when we did not know yet that 6 months was all we had, he sat across from me at my kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon and slid an envelope across the wood. "If something ever happens," he said, "you're the one I trust with numbers." Inside the envelope was a list: his life insurance policy, my mother's account information, monthly bills in his handwriting, organized by due date. "Keep your mother covered," he said. "That's all I'm asking." My Aunt Gloria was sitting in the living room when he said it. She heard every word, and she spent the next 3 years deciding what that meant for her. If this is already sitting in your chest, stay with me, because what happened in that venue parking lot 300 miles away, while I was watching a harbor with my children, is something I need to tell completely, and it starts a lot earlier than the 31 calls. My Aunt Gloria is my mother's younger sister. She is the kind of woman who fills every room she enters, not with warmth, but with presence. The kind of presence that announces itself and then waits to be acknowledged. She has opinions about everything and delivers them the way weather delivers rain, without asking whether you wanted it. For 30 years, she and my mother have had the particular relationship of 2 sisters who love each other in the way that leaves marks. When my father died, Gloria was at the funeral in the front row. She was also at my mother's kitchen table 3 days later, when my mother was still in the particular fog of early grief, suggesting that the life insurance money should be used to help the whole family. "Robert would have wanted everyone taken care of," she said. My mother, who was 61 and grieving and not in a position to evaluate anything carefully, looked at me. I said, "The money is allocated. We have a plan." Gloria looked at me the way people look at a locked door, and she did not forget it. My cousin Stephanie, Gloria's daughter, 32, engaged to a man named Derek, who sold car insurance and laughed too loudly at his own jokes, had been planning her wedding for 14 months. It was, by Stephanie's accounting, going to be the event of the decade. Venue overlooking the river, catering for 120 guests, a photographer who had a waiting list, flowers that required a separate line item. The total cost, and I only know this because of what happened later, was $31,000. Stephanie had $26,000 covered. She needed $5,000 more. And at some point in the 6 weeks before the wedding, at some point that I can place, precisely because of a conversation that happened without my knowledge and that I reconstructed afterward, from 3 separate sources, Gloria decided where that $5,000 was coming from. She decided it was coming from me. Not by asking, by using a debit card she had been holding for 2 years. Here's the background on the card. When my father died, my mother was briefly overwhelmed by the administrative weight of everything. She did not know which bills were automatic and which required a check. She did not know the login for the electric company. I had helped her set everything up. And in the process, because my mother was 61 and still nervous about online banking and had asked me what she should do if there was an emergency. While I was at work, I had given her an emergency debit card connected to my secondary checking account, the one I used for irregular expenses. Gas money if your car breaks down, I told her. Dr. Copay if you can't reach me. That's it. She had thanked me. She had put it in her wallet. And she had, apparently, mentioned to Gloria that it existed. I know what you are thinking. I thought it too. But here is the thing about people who love your mother and use that love as access. They are patient. They do not move immediately. They file the information and they wait for a moment when it becomes useful. The moment came 6 weeks before Stephanie's wedding. I found out from my coworker Janet, who had heard from her neighbor Denise, who did alterations out of her garage and had done Stephanie's bridesmaid dresses, and who had been present at a fitting when Gloria made a phone call she did not bother to step outside to take. Bev has the card, Gloria had said. My mother's name is Beverly. Rachel, left it with her. She'll never notice if we put the deposit on it. The deposit was $5,000. Toward a wedding I had not been invited to attend. I had not been invited because 6 months earlier, at Christmas dinner, in the particular way that Stephanie delivered all information, she did not want challenged. She had announced that the wedding would be intimate, just close family, which it turned out meant 120 guests minus me and my children. Owen had asked why we weren't going to Cousin Stephanie's wedding. I had told him we had our own plans. I did not have plans yet, but I made them that night. First, the card. I checked my secondary account the following morning and found 2 transactions. I had not made $40 at a bridal salon, $220 at a catering tasting. I sat at my desk for a long time. Then I drove to my bank on my lunch break, closed the secondary account, opened a new one, transferred everything, and left the old account with $9.43. I told no one, not my mother, not my cousin, not anyone. I went back to work, balanced a quarterly report, picked up my kids at 5:15, made dinner, helped Owen with his sight words. And then at 9:30, after both children were asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and my travel savings. Account balance, $1,800. 14 months of setting aside money like it did not exist. And I booked 4 nights at a hotel in Charleston, South Carolina, Harborview, kitchenette, checkout on Sunday, the same weekend as Stephanie's wedding. I sent my mother an email at 9:47. Mom, I've changed my secondary account. The card you have won't work anymore. I'll explain later. Love you. I did not explain later. Not yet. I needed to get to Charleston first. The wedding was on a Saturday. We arrived in Charleston on Thursday afternoon. Owen wanted to see the fort. Maya wanted to find the bookstore she had looked up on the drive down. We did both. Thursday evening we walked along the waterfront eating ice cream that dripped faster than we could catch. It and Owen declared that the harbor was the best thing he had ever seen, and then immediately revised that to second best because of the ice cream. I slept better than I had in months. Friday was the beach. Saturday was the aquarium. Owen pressed his face against the shark tank for so long that a staff member came over to make sure he was all right. He was more than all right. He was exactly where he was supposed to be. My phone started buzzing at 2:15 on Saturday afternoon. I was on the hotel balcony, harbor below, coffee in my hand. The wedding, which I had calculated was approximately 310 miles north, would have been starting around that time. Mom, I looked at the screen, looked at Maya, who was reading on one of the beds inside with her shoes off. Looked at Owen, who had fallen asleep, with his face on a stuffed shark he had acquired at the aquarium gift shop. I pressed decline. It rang again at 2:16. Declined. 2:17. Declined. Owen opened one eye. Who keeps calling? Nobody important right now, I said. Go back to sleep. He closed his eye. I put the phone face down on the balcony railing. It kept buzzing. I let it buzz. Here is what was happening 310 miles north, which I know because my mother told me every detail when she called, and actually spoke 2 weeks later. The wedding venue, a renovated riverfront property that charged by the hour for its trouble, had run the remaining balance on the card on file the morning of the event. The card on file was my old card, connected to the account with $9.43. Declined. Gloria received the call at 11:30 a.m. She called my mother immediately. My mother went to her purse, found the card, drove to an ATM, inserted the card, checked the balance. $9.43. She called Gloria from the ATM. Gloria called Stephanie. Stephanie called Derek. Derek, to his credit, stayed calm. He called the venue and explained that there had been a banking issue. He asked about alternative payment options. He was told that without the balance paid before the ceremony, the reception hall would not be released for setup. $5,000 by noon on a Saturday. Gloria called me at 12:04. I was eating lunch with my children at a restaurant near the waterfront. I watched her name on my screen until it stopped. She called again at 12:07, 12:13, 12:21. My mother called at 12:30. Then Gloria again. Then a number I did not recognize that turned out to be Derek calling from his phone because he was, apparently, the only person in the situation trying to solve a problem rather than assign blame. I did not answer Derek either. Not because I was trying to make a point. Because I was at lunch with my children, and whatever was happening 300 miles north was not my emergency. I had not created it. I had not agreed to fund it. I had not been invited to watch it happen in person. I had simply moved my money, which is exactly what my father would have told me to do. Stephanie and Derek covered the balance. It took 3 calls. Derek's parents contributed $2,000. Derek's credit card took $1,500. Stephanie's maid of honor, who had been to the ATM for unrelated reasons, contributed $500. In cash on the spot, the reception happened. I know this because there are photographs on social media. 120 guests, everyone dressed beautifully. Gloria is in 12 of the photographs and smiling in all of them. I do not appear in any of them. Neither do my children. My mother called me the following Tuesday. Not to yell, not to perform. The real call. The one she had been building toward for 4 days. I should have called you before I let Gloria use that card, she said. I knew it wasn't right. You knew, I said. I was afraid she'd stop bringing the grandchildren around. I know, Mom. There was a silence. The money you moved, she said. Is it still there? Yes, I said. It's mine. It was always mine. She said you owed the family. For what? Another silence. Longer. I don't know, my mother said. Neither do I. I told my mother what the new arrangement would look like. No shared accounts, no emergency cards at anyone else's house. She was welcome to call, to visit, to be in our lives in the ordinary ways that families are in each other's lives when they are being honest. But I was not available to be the account everyone drew from when the plan fell short. She accepted it. Not happily, not immediately, but she accepted it. Gloria did not call me after the wedding. Not once. The silence was its own kind of answer. I ran into Stephanie 6 weeks later at a grocery store. She was in the produce section. I was in the next aisle. We made eye contact through a gap in the display. She looked away first. I got my apples and went home. Owen asked about the sand dollar he had found on the beach in Charleston and the perfect one. Not a crack in it. and wanted to know where to put it. "Somewhere you can see it," I said. He put it on his windowsill. "It is still there. Here is what 31 unanswered calls and a harbor view and a debit card with $9 on it taught me. When someone holds your account like it belongs to them, they are not keeping you safe. They are keeping you available. There is a difference. And the moment you understand the difference, the moment you move the money before the plan executes, everything changes. Not for them, for you. You do not have to announce it. You do not have to explain it in advance. You just have to move first." My aunt used my card from my cousin's wedding, then called 31 times from the parking lot. I was on a balcony in Charleston watching the harbor. My son was counting the calls like a game, and I pressed decline every single time. Not because I was angry, because I was finally somewhere I had chosen. And that was worth every unanswered call. Drop a comment. Have you ever moved your money before someone else could spend it? Tell me your story below. Disclaimer. This is a fictional story created for entertainment purposes only. All names, characters, and events are purely imaginary.